Hi there, my name is Tom Andraszek and I'm here with Stuart Brooker. We both are Coomera residents and we wanted to show you today where the Coomera connector, second M1, would actually go. Because if you're looking at the glossy TMR leaflets and website, it only shows, it doesn't show you where it actually, how it will actually look on the ground. So let me pan around here. So we are standing at the moment where the Coomera connector would go. You can see behind us a bush, and have a look. Here we see a fence and the houses. This is part of Coomera Waters. It's one of the many residential developments that the motorway, because now it's a motorway, would go. Some places would be really like 20-50 meters from people's homes, and so you will not see that in TMR's videos or leaflets. What else is TMR is not telling the public is that there's let me show you just one more thing. This is like we're doing this live, this one take, so sorry for recording on a phone. We are not professionals. We have other jobs. We are not in the media. So let me show you here how the government wants you to think about the motorway. They want you to believe that this is going to be so nice, so pleasant, that mothers will stroll along it with children, and people will walk around it, right? It's not true. It's propaganda, what it is. This is not how it looked like. No sane person will walk next to a 6-lane motorway. Also, what TMR is doing, and why I'm making this video, is because TMR, the Labor Party, the government, is misleading the public about the level of support they have for this project. And it's a plea from us, from the residents who will be very negatively affected, to you as Labour or LNP supporters, to contact your candidates and ask them about that, and tell them that in case of Labour, that you may not vote for them if they don't change their position. Labour is in government and it's totally on them. So if this motorway gets built and people will be suffering for decades to come, it will be on Labour's. And if you support Labour, it will be on you. Sorry about that. Now, why I said Labour is misleading the people? Because we had consultations back in 2019, in November. There was a months-long campaign, ads on the radio, in newspapers, on Facebook, face-to-face sessions in Gold Coast, different locations, shopping centers, and there was a web survey, and in that web survey only 38.7, so less than 39% of the people said that they support the Coomera connector as a transport solution. 38.7, right? Now let's see what is in the summary report, which was published five months later. So it was published in May 2020. The report says, research has told us that the vast majority of the community support the Coomera connector. That's in the main outcomes. That's like page 2. The media statement from Mark Bailey, the Transport Minister, has big title: Survey shows strong support for Coomera connector. Independent survey of Gold Coast residents and businesses has shown overwhelming support for the Coomera connector. Okay, I checked the TMR website a few days ago, and it says A telephone survey of 1,000 residents and businesses revealed 4 out of 5 people in the project corridor area support the introduction of the Coomera connector. These statements are misleading. They are based on a phone survey that was secret, that was a private company was hired to do a phone survey. We don't know what questions people were asked. The survey was 18 minutes long. Almost a third of the people haven't heard of the Coomera connector before that. They only learned during that phone call, so they didn't have a chance to look at the maps. And in that survey, we know that people were asked, this was only a survey about road projects and congestion on M1, and people were asked, if they support building a second M1. Now, what is misleading is that only people who use M1 at least twice a week were included in the results. So if you use M1 once a week, you don't count. If you don't use M1 because you live in Surfers and you don't care for M1, maybe you use it once a month, you're not important. If you use public transport, no, you're not included in the residents, you're not included in the community. These statements don't say so. Probably like half of the community, half of the residents were not included at all. This survey also asked people living as far south as New South Wales border, and they are not in the project corridor. the Coomera connector starts in Nerang. But that's a different thing. All right, so I think that's so again a plea to Labor members and supporters. The party is misleading you if they tell you that the residents, the community want that motorway. That motorway is close to homes. It goes also through conservation areas in Helensvale. There's a Kumbaba conservation area. So there's a lot that these glossy brochures or the TMR website is not telling you. Stuart, what's your concern about the Coomera connector, about the whole project?
Look, I use the M1 quite a bit. So look, I hate congestion, like we all do, and I suppose this is one of the things that is annoying me is a lot of the talk and a lot of the conversation around is the second M1 is going to reduce congestion. Now, without us seeing what the options they went through to remove the congestion and what other options they went through in designs, it's really hard for me to support, what they want to do. A lot of the issues I see up here in the north is around public transport and a lot of the local roads. Not necessarily do we need a huge big road, through the area again. So my big concern is there's a real lack of transparency of how they did the business case, how they looked at the options, and then how they're representing that to the community. A lot of the people I talk to, they either don't know what the Coomera connector is, or they've never heard of it. So how can people make a decision? So I really think both LNP and Labor, the way they're representing the project, it's not transparent. We have to let people know what the options are, especially since it's our money. This project is, what is it, $2.3 billion or something?
There was one estimate where it was estimated 2.4 billion, but that was for a 4-lane. And the total cost, some people say that it may be around 6 billion.
So this is a lot of money they're throwing at the project to soak under the view that they're solving congestion. Now there's a lot of other ideas out there, a lot more public transport, a lot better local roads. If people know your Waupa Road at the moment, that road isn't even, completely finished. The other issue why we have congestion is we put a lot of new developments in before the infrastructure is actually in place. Now, one of my other big concerns is they put a big road like this through and use that as an excuse to put more developments in. Now, that means pretty much as soon as the road is complete, it'll be congestion because they haven't solved the the feeder issues like the local roads, the public transport, active transport, cycleways, everything like that. So that's what I'm concerned about, Tom, is I just don't feel like we've done a proper review of where the money could best be spent.
That's right. That's right. And we had when we started a year ago, when we learned about this project a year ago, we had a petition to the Queensland Parliament, and we listed some alternatives. People in Gold Coast. There was a survey recently where people were asked, newspaper survey where people were asked, what's the most important infrastructure project for you? And over 50% said fast rail. Coomera connector or second M1 was down there at around I think 10 or 15%. It was like project number 3, 4, way down. Fast rail is people who want to get to Brisbane, they want to get there quickly in comfort, while doing something, maybe on reading a book on their laptop, on their phone, and not driving, right? So, and we were not given, like in the consultation, we were not given these options. As Stuart said, the department is not releasing the information about the options analysis. It seems like they are pushing forward with the road regardless. So it looks like
Look, if you want more information, feel free to contact us. You can find me on Stu's Views and Tom through...
you can Google No Second M1. You will find a Facebook page. You will find a blog. There's a lot of information there. I started looking at other things when I learned about the project over a year ago. So there's a lot of information. A year ago, I hoped that the government would be reasonable enough to actually do a proper cost-benefit analysis, but it turns out they didn't do that, and instead they didn't even publicize the public consultation as the results truthfully. So sorry, my opinion at the moment is don't vote Labor if they don't change their position quickly. And I know there's lots of good people as Labor members and supporters. Look into it. I come from you can hear my accent. I grew up in a communist country. A government that is not transparent, that is lying to you, is one of the worst things, in my book as well.
That's it for us,
All right.
I think. And contact us if you want more information. And definitely look into it, because we're only going to get one shot at this. Once this is in, this is really potentially could change the lifestyle.
And it's for decades. And if you hear that, we should have known that there was that road. It was a dead road. It was a project. It was a road to nowhere for over 20 years. A bit of history about this. It was originally a Labor project as well in 1995, known as Koala Tollway or Koala Highway. And Labor government lost in every electorate where that road went through, and a year later, they lost the government, and then nobody touched that. People who bought houses in Helensvale, for example, in the surrounds, even if you knew about that, you called the TMR back then, they would tell you, no, it's not gonna happen. It's even in 30 years, it's not gonna happen. And other people. Just one last thing. You can also hear, like, this is one of the arguments TMR or other people will tell you. We should have known. I checked at the time when I was buying a house here, and you know what? Light rail went in using that corridor. Light rail from Parkwood to Helensvale, and I thought that the thing was dead. Everybody thought that was dead. It was a corridor that was sitting there for 20 years. Nobody thought that it would be, somebody would come and try to build a motorway. And let me show you last thing how close it is to where people live now. This is a new development. The metal fence here is where the Coomera connector corridor is. So this is the metal fence. There's people's houses over here. So no you know, no sound barrier. Sound barriers are one thing, but there's also air pollution that affects people up to 400 meters from the road. And there's also divided communities, there's wildlife. I mean, this part is not a conservation park, but it's green, you know, it could be used for something else. Yeah, all right. Thank you for your time.
See yous.